Top 10 government conspiracy theories revealed to be true. Conspiracy theories can be intriguing, outlandish, or even downright loony. But are they ever true? As it turns out, they can be. So with that in mind, let's take a look at a handful of examples of conspiracy theories that are rooted in truth. And as always, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet. 10. The Gaydar Machine. As crazy as this might sound, Canada actually developed it in the 1960s. Paranoid about sexual orientation, the Canadian government hired a university professor to develop a machine that would detect orientation in federal employees. The resulting machine measured pupil dilation, perspiration and pulse in response to being shown same-sex pornography. Those tested were told that the machine's purpose was to rate their stress levels, but the truth was that the government wanted to remove its gay employees. Subsequently, more than 400 men were excluded or fired from civil service, the military and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. 9. Bad booze. During Prohibition, the government poisoned alcohol to keep people from drinking. Crazy conspiracy theories almost always suggest the government is behind it all. And they were right. Manufacturers of industrial alcohol have been mixing their products with dangerous chemicals for years prior to Prohibition. But between 1926 and 1933, the federal government pushed manufacturers to stronger poisons to discourage bootleggers from turning the alcohol into moonshine. That, however, didn't stop the bootleggers or their customers, and by the end of Prohibition, more than 10,000 Americans had been killed by tainted booze. 8. The CIA tested LSD and other hallucinogenic drugs on Americans. As part of a top-secret experiment on behaviour modification called MKUltra, the CIA tested volunteers on a variety of methods. Eventually, they began testing people without their knowledge, let alone consent. This left many of the test subjects with permanent mental disabilities as a result of the testing. 7. The CIA spied on and controlled the American media. The CIA's project Operation Mockingbird spied on members of the Washington Press Corps in 1963, 1972 and 1973. They also paid journalists to publish CIA propaganda, wiretaped their phones and monitored their office to keep tabs on their activities and visitors. 6. President Woodrow Wilson's wife ran the country after he suffered a stroke. One thing we know for sure is that Wilson definitely did suffer a debilitating stroke towards the end of his presidency, but the government felt it was in the country's best interest to keep things quiet. The public didn't learn about the stroke for months, during which time his wife, Edith Wilson, was making most of the executive decisions. Despite Mrs. Wilson claiming that she acted only as a steward, historians who have analysed the Wilson term in office confirm that for well over a year, she was in charge. 5. A US Air Force laboratory researched the possibility of using pheromones as a weapon. Theoretical research conducted by a US Air Force laboratory in 1994 explored the use of non-lethal chemical weapons. This, believe it or not, was called the gay bomb. They speculated on the effects of troops being doused in female pheromones. The objective was to make the soldiers sexually irresistible to one another and negatively impact their effectiveness in combat. 4. Big Tobacco knew that cigarettes cause cancer. New research suggests that tobacco companies have known for 40 years that cigarette smoke contains cancer-causing particles, but that they deliberately hid this information from the public. At the beginning of the 1950s, research was showing an indisputable statistical link between smoking and lung cancer. But it wasn't up until the late 1990s that Philip Morris, the nation's largest cigarette maker at the time, even admitted that smoking could in fact cause cancer. 3. The Gulf of Tonkin incident of 1964 was faked to provoke American support for the Vietnam War. The US destroyer Maddox was busy conducting a signal intelligence operation against North Vietnam when they fired 3 warning shots at approaching enemy subs. The subs returned fire, leaving 1 bullet in the Maddox. This incident on August 2nd, 1964 happened, but the US were there supporting covert raids from the south, so it was hardly unprovoked. 2. The US government stole dead bodies for radioactive testing. After dropping nuclear bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, the US government stole parts of dead bodies to measure the effects of nuclear fallout on the human body. Researchers needed young tissue, but the agents recruited to find recently deceased babies and children took samples including full limbs without the consent of the grieving families. More than 1,500 families were affected by this inhumane act. 1. The CIA developed a heart attack gun. As the theory goes, the CIA built a secret weapon in the 60s and 70s, one that could cause fatal heart attacks. The weapon shot a small poison dart that could penetrate clothing. It would leave behind nothing but a tiny red dot on the skin. The dart disintegrated on impact, and the target would only feel a small prick, similar to a bug bite. Since the poison denatured quickly, it could not be detected in an autopsy, leading officials to believe that the victim suffered a heart attack. So there we have it, that concludes our list. As always, if you enjoyed the video, then please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to our channel if you're new. Until next time, thanks for watching and I'll see you then.